the way back at the beginning of the show when we delved into who funds Bellingcat and what it is that they do in response and in return for that funding, to the media's willingness to just simply assert things without having the slightest idea that it's true, as long as it serves the agenda of their sources in the U.S. security state or the prevailing political agenda of the day. There is a reason, a very good reason, why public trust in media institutions has collapsed, why it's at an all-time low, why we're headed to single digits of the percentage of people who say that they believe that what they read in the newspaper or hear on television news is actually true rather than the byproduct of a political agenda. It is a major crisis in the United States and in the West generally that our biggest news outlets have been converted into barely disguised propaganda arms for the most powerful institutions in the West. I continue to emphasize how amazing it is because there are probably a lot of you too young to realize how aberrational it is to turn on NBC News and CNN and see entire panels filled with former leaders of the CIA, the NSA, the Department of Justice, the FBI, Homeland Security, who are employed now by these news outlets and whose worldview dominates how they tell you the news. Chris Hayes and his guests were labeling me a far-right propagandist, even though Chris Hayes goes to work every day with the former director of the CIA, John Brennan, who killed huge numbers of people with drones and then lied about it continuously to the public, and who calls as his honored colleague the former spokesperson for the Bush-Cheney White House during the War on Terror, Nicole Wallace, and who invites onto his show and heaps praise on somebody who is employed by a group that is funded by the public arm of the CIA and various U.S. intelligence agencies inside the EU government. These are the people who are constantly disseminating propaganda. And even though people may not know the particulars, the ones we just walked you through, people have rightly perceived that they're constantly being deceived and manipulated and propagandized and lied to on purpose by our nation's most powerful media outlets, the ones that constantly tell you they're the guardians against disinformation and who need the power of censorship to ensure you're being told the truth. You dig into all these groups, the anti-disinformation groups, the pro-censorship groups, the organizations that feed these media outlets, what they then go forth and tell you, and they're always funded by the same people. There is a censorship industrial complex, a disinformation industrial complex, of which Bellingcat is a crucial part, and that uses the tactics we just walked you through of how willing media outlets are to lie. Bellingcat is an illustrative example, one of the most important because of the success they've had in the way that they are held up. But they are only just that, illustrative. There is nothing aberrational about them. They represent the true function of U.S. media outlets and the way in which our governments propagandize us. And I think Bellingcat is an important test case to understand how this works, who is behind it, and for what purposes this is all being applied.